Welcome to the Big Red Zone preview for Saturday, February 2nd, alongside Chris Harrington and Cornell assistant coach Damian Hahn. I'm Matt Schultz. The Big Red Zone preview, as always, brought to you by Advantage Sport and Fitness and D-Squared Construction, as well as Defenso. Defend what you have built. Guys, the Big Red taking on Hofstra and Columbia on Saturday. 2 duels, 1 day. But it should be a very strenuous day. Chris, you think the Big Red will get out of these two pretty well unscathed?
Yeah, I think there's about 4 matchups that could go even. Other than that, I think this is going to be a big weekend for Cornell.
Well, we'll take it weight by weight, see how they stack up against Hofstra and Columbia. Don't forget, you can listen to the Hofstra match online, 1160ESPN.com. Pre-game coverage starting at 12:45. There will be no coverage from Columbia. I will spare you the details, but they wrestle in a nuclear fallout shelter, and there's just no way to broadcast from there. So, Hofstra, 12:45. Make sure you listen online at 1160ESPN.com. We'll start things off. 125, Nashon Garrett. He's 6th in the country. He continues to rack up big wins, 29-3 now. Looked great out there against Oregon State last week. Finished a match, Damien. That's what you've been hoping Garrett would do, is finish those matches. Instead of a 14-point win, push it to that tech fall. He's starting to get there. He's going to have a couple of pretty good opponents this weekend, though. Steve Bennett, ranked 19th for Hofstra. Penn Gottfried, a junior for Columbia. Do you expect bonus points in both of those?
Nashon wrestled Bennett at the beginning of the year. It was a good match. They kind of exchanged some takedowns back and forth. From the beginning of the year till now, Nashon is a completely different wrestler. He's been pushing the pace. He's been putting points on the board, and like you said, he's going to finish the matches. So getting tech falls. We'd love to see some pins out of him, but let's take it one step at a time. And I see bonus points this weekend, just like he steps on the mat every weekend. I expect, and he expects, to put points on the board and get those points to the team.
And a lot of times with freshmen going from high school to college, it's all about getting that confidence, getting used to collegiate wrestling. And I'll tell you what, Nashon Garrett looks to be pretty darn close, if not already there. 133, it's going to be Dixon, we believe, out there for the Cornell Big Red once again. He's 9-7 at 133 this year, still working on filling into that 133-pound role. But he's got a couple of winnable matches this weekend against Hofstra. 27th ranked Jamie Franco. He's only 11-12 on the year, redshirt junior for the Pride. Against Columbia, Dixon will face Robert Dyer, we believe, senior for Birmingham, Alabama. That could be a good one because Dyer, usually 125 pounds, so he'll be a little undersized for the weight too. Possibly a good matchup for Bricker. Chris, how do you see Bricker's weekend coming out?
Well, I think he should win both matchups this weekend. Franco's the tougher of the 2 opponents. Really, the key is to see if he can get up off the bottom. If he's not getting rode, he's pretty dynamic on his feet. And that's going to be the factor this weekend. If he gets rolled out, he gets turned, he's probably not going to be too successful. So we'll see how he can come off the bottom this weekend.
And this past weekend, Cornell beating Penn, losing to Oregon State, one of the more disappointing performances. 0-2 for 6th-ranked Mike Eminger at 141. He'll get another shot, and he's got a couple of decent opponents. 17th-ranked Luke Vaith of Hofstra and unranked Alec Moradian of Columbia. And Damien, you said Moradian's a tough kid. Vaith is always a tough matchup for Eminger too.
Yeah. Going with Vaith, it was kind of up and down year. He's beaten some quality guys. And Eminger always has a good go with him. I think they've been 1-point matches, maybe a ride out. So it's going to be a good match either way with Vaith. And then you got Alec Moradian, freshman, Michigan kid, tough. I think he's a solid kid. But once again, he is a freshman, and we have a veteran coming in who's an All-American. So I expect him to go out there and win both these matches. Really, win both these matches and put points on the board for us. Columbia and Hofstra.
And you'd love to see him dominate the way Mike Eminger can when he gets on top. I think that's the big thing for the coaching staff, to see glimpses of what they expected to see and what we did see 3 or 4 weeks ago when he won the Southern Scuffle title. Well, Eminger, so far against Vaith, 3-0 win in the duel last year, 1-0 win at New York State's this year. Did lose to Vaith back in 2011 at the Binghamton Open 4-2. So some pretty good history between those two guys. 149, Chris Villalonger, ranked 15th in the country, looked really, really good up until Sunday's match against Oregon State, where all of a sudden it just kind of fell apart on him. Looked great at the beginning of that match, came out with a ton of pace, but he has a tendency sometimes to lose his confidence. Does he have the confidence, Damien, to get through Cody Ruggiero of Hofstra and Steve Santos, 8th ranked in the country out of Columbia?
I do believe so. He is one of the kids that he's in here day in and day out, busting his butt. He's doing the extra things. He's doing the little things that need to be done to become an All-American. And it's putting it together under those lights. And, that's where Chris has had a little bit of difficulty this year. I mean, you look at this past weekend, Sakaguchi goes out there, takes Sakaguchi down right away, and then kind of starts riding him and got a little too high, got reversed, and then the wheels started to come off. We got to keep him calm. We got to keep him focused, and I think he's got 2 great opportunities this weekend. With Steve Santos, a guy that he's seen multiple times, a guy that I've gone back and forth with. I expect Chris to go out there and be 2-0 this weekend. I mean, this is another opportunity for him, to wrestle another quality opponent. I think Steve Santos is ranked 8th in the country, so I'm looking for Chris to come out and dominate and win these 2 matches.
Well, 157, Cornell's Jesse Shannon's going to be looking for a bounce-back performance as well after he was beaten pretty soundly against Oregon State. He's usually a guy that wrestles low-scoring, close matches. We don't normally see it get that high scoring with Shannon, so we expect to see him kind of tone things down a little bit against Tyler Banks of Hofstra. Jake OHara ranked 17th for Columbia. Chris, 2 big matches, I think, for his confidence.
Absolutely. After last week, Pena is one of those dark horse guys in that national title contention picture. I've been saying that all year. There's St. John, and then there's a bunch of other guys right behind him, and I don't know how they stack out, but I think Pena's in that group. Jesse needs to get back on track. He needs to get his confidence back, and he needs to get a little bit more on his offense. He seemed very tentative when he got down last week. It could be because they're just coming off 2 days, coming back to school. Some of those things could factor into that, but this is a big weekend for him to get his confidence back.
I'll take 165 myself. First-ranked Kyle Diggs probably going to pin Nick Turdick and Josh Holdsworth. He's just wrestling so well right now. How can you say he's not going to? So we'll skip over to 174, where either Marshall Pepperman or Duke Pickett will be in the lineup. Marshall Pepperman and Duke Pickett still going at it, Damon. Still going at it in the room. Is either guy ahead right now?
It's kind of matchups. It really is right now. I mean, they both are in here. They're working hard. We decided to go with Duke over the weekend, and he went out there and put up 2 performances. One, came away with a win against Oregon State, and then against Penn, he wrestled a guy that's beaten him earlier in the year, and he lost again. But he wrestled hard. He went after it, and he was trying to put things together. This weekend, we're going to see how it plays out. Basically back-to-back duels. We'd love to see both guys in there competing. So we're not sure yet who's going to be starting, but you're most likely to see both these guys in the lineup. Not sure which match, but these are 2 opponents that we should win. We got some history. We got some history with Stephen West. We've wrestled him multiple times. Not only Marshall, but some of the other guys on our team, and we've fared well. We've beaten them. We've lost to them. So I think this weekend, we should win that weight class. No questions about it. Doesn't matter. I don't believe who walks out on the mat, Duke Pickett or Marshall Pubman. We should win those weights.
And I was telling Chris during the broadcast on Sunday, I've never seen Duke look better than he looked against Oregon State.
Yeah.
So possibly his chance now, with the door open a little bit with that performance, to win that role. Jermaine John of Hofstra, a tough opponent, but by no means an unbeatable opponent. Same thing with Stephen West, ranked 22nd right now for Columbia. And Jermaine John actually just beat Stephen West 8-1 last weekend. So these guys both kind of same range. Should be an interesting matchup for either Pepperman or Pickett. 184, Steve Bozak, ranked 4th in the country. Man, Chris, he's starting to wrestle really, really well. That means trouble for young freshman Victor Pisoni of Hofstra and Drew Rebling Jr. for Columbia.
Well, what you're seeing now is he's got weeks adding on top of each other in practice. And with wrestling, that is everything. Getting your legs back underneath you, getting your weight under control, and then just your timing. There's a thing called Matt Ross, and he had some. It's starting to get knocked off, and we're starting to see that national title form once again from Steve Bozak.
197, we saw a lot of Billy George last weekend. Jace Bennett bumped up to heavyweight. We did see him once against Oregon State, but after a couple of shaky performances, Cornell looking for some consistency out of Bennett, putting George in there to see what kind of shakeup can happen. We'll see which one it is this weekend. I'm guessing, though, Damian Bennett returns to the lineup?
Yeah, it's kind of been the same situation as 174, so we clearly have, 2 guys at this weight that they both want it. One guy's going out there and, laying it on the line. That's what we need to see. We need to see a guy who's going to step up and really take that spot. But we're going to bring Jace with us this weekend. He's wrestled Mills not preseason in the New York States and majored him. And then Murphy as well. We're going to throw him out there against Murphy. And once again, we're looking at 2 wins. There's no other way to put it. I think Jace is in a class of his own, and I think he goes out there and puts these guys puts these bonus points on the board for us.
Heck of a lot of athleticism from Bennett. You saw him come out and take down Hankey, one of the best heavyweights in the country, a couple of times. So if he has the ability to do that, going back to 197, maybe a little extra confidence under his belt there. And he'll, as Damian was saying, he'll take on Tim Murphy of Hofstra, Nick Mills of Columbia. You expect to see a couple of wins from Bennett, maybe some bonus points there as well if he's truly back to form. Heavyweight, either Striker Lane or Jacob Aiken-Phillips. They're both going to be on the bus. We'll see if Striker's healthy enough to go. Otherwise, it'll be Jacob Aiken-Phillips, the sophomore. They'll take on either Paul Schneider from Hofstra. He's ranked 25th in the country. We've seen Schneider for years. Schneider's a redshirt senior now. He's been wrestling for Hofstra, it seems, forever.
Yeah.
I think he's like 86 years old now. Wyatt Baker from Columbia, a sophomore, a new guy, new face in their lineup. How do you think it's going to go, Chris?
Well, I think, what you're looking for this weekend, if Striker's in the lineup, this is all about seedings for the NCAA tournament. Schneider, guy that's a national qualifier in the past, this is a guy that Striker needs to beat to start getting ahead of some of these guys in the national rankings. If it is Jap in the lineup, you just need some consistency out there, and he needs to get out there and get tough on top because he's really good at turning guys and pinning them.
And Jacob Aiken-Phillips wrestled well against Penn.
Yep.
Good against Graziano. What have you seen from him in the room?
Young kid who, he likes to get out there and mix it up. I like Chris was saying, some consistency. He's good. He's very good in certain positions. But if you want to become an All-American national champ, you got to be a well-rounded athlete or wrestler for that matter. And I think he's getting there. We're still a work in progress, but he's definitely capable of going out there, this weekend and winning these two matches. He actually wrestled Schneider last year, and in an open tournament. It was actually a close match. Jap ended up losing a last second takedown or something like that. But he's capable of going out there and putting 2 wins on the board.
And we'll see how it goes. Well, Chris, what do you think for the two duels? I'm trying to scale back a little bit. Every time we come out and say they might lose one match all weekend, it ends up being much worse than that. So I'm going to say that they win 8 of 10 against both opponents.
Yeah, I think that's realistic for both duels. There's some toss-up matches in both, but I think 16 bouts is very realistic, if not more.
Yeah, and being on the road, you never know what can happen. We saw
Exactly.
when it went out to Harvard, all those toss-up matches seem to go the Crimson's way. So we'll see how it goes this weekend down at Hofstra and Columbia. That's all for this Big Red Zone preview, brought to you by Advantage Sport and Fitness and D Square Construction, as well as Defense Soap. Defend what you have built.